Hello everyone, my name is Tamara Bennett from Southern Adornments Decor, and my friend Stacy invited me to come in here and show you guys how to paint a mason jar. So I'm so excited to be here with you guys. If you guys don't know me, my name is Tamara Bennett and I teach women how to paint door hangers. And if you don't know what a door hanger is, you must not be from the South because it's a Southern thing. So a door hanger is like a wooden cutout that has been painted really cute to hang on your front door. It could replace like a wreath or something. It is not those little things that hang on your door that say do not disturb. Hey Stacy, how are you? And so I cut all of my door hangers from 1/4 inch MDF, and they are actually laser cut. That's why those of you that bought one and had them shipped to you, that's why they have this burned edge on them, because they are cut using a laser cutting machine. Now, back in the day, hey Trina, when I was cutting door hangers myself at home, I just used a jigsaw, and a lot of the ladies in my Painters Clubhouse use a scroll saw. So if you guys missed it or didn't see it, there is a link that I put in the group a few minutes ago where you can go and download a printable template. You print it out just like you would a printable sewing pattern, and you tape it together and cut it out. You can lay it right on your board, trace it with a pencil, and then use a scroll saw or a jigsaw to cut it out. And I just realized my video is a little crooked. And you can use the video that I gave you to show you how to do that using a jigsaw. Hi Loretta, how are you? From Alabama. Well, I live in Kentucky, you guys, in case you can't tell from my accent. So yes, you can use that to cut out your own with a jigsaw if you want. It is kind of addicting to use power tools once you kind of get used to them. So I don't know, are any of you ladies like comfortable using power tools? Hi Ellen, hi Cherise. So in my Painters Clubhouse membership, I teach women how to paint door hangers every single month. And this month we are actually painting this same exact door hanger that I'm going to be showing you guys today. So if you're painting right alongside me, grab your mason jar cutouts and we're going to get started. Also in the group, underneath the comments of the post that I put a few minutes ago, I put a printable image that you guys can print. If you don't want to use the lettering part of it, that's totally fine, because we did design this one to be a chalkboard piece so that you could write in chalk on here. But if you're like me, I'm not very good at writing with chalk. I prefer to write with paint and a brush. And so I am gonna paint this circle black, but you could paint it like a chalkboard. And oh, thank you Stacy. And you could use chalk to write whatever you want in here. But if you want to use this as a printable, you can do that, and that way you don't have to try to do the lettering right, because a lot of people are not very comfortable doing lettering, and so this is going to make it so easy for you guys. All right, I'm going to change the angle of my camera so that you guys can see exactly what I'm doing, so just give me a second to get that going here. It might take me a moment just to get it just right. I want to get it high enough that you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm going to flip the image so you're not looking at it upside down. There we go. How's that? Okay. I should still be able to see your comments, hopefully. Awesome. Thank you, Stacy. She put all the information right there in the comments for you guys. Okay. If you've got some paintbrushes, grab the largest paintbrush that you have. And to make things a little easier on us so that we're not you know, painting the whole thing one color and then painting another layer on top of that, let's just go ahead and do just a slight outline with a pencil, or if you can use a piece of chalk if you have chalk. I also have a General's charcoal pencil that has a white tip. Let me see if it's not really been sharpened, so it may not work. That's not gonna work. I've got to get my pencil sharpener out after that. So I'll just use a regular pencil, and we're just gonna trace just a bit of an outline here. It doesn't have to be perfect. And up here you can make it a little bit wavy. Wavy is always easier than straight anyway. And just bring it on around like that. Just so this will be the part where the pink lemonade goes, and this will be the color of the mason jar. All right, yes, this is gonna be so fun. Hi Pat, hi Jan from Florida. Okay, and I forgot to grab, I like to use egg cartons to hold my paint, so let me grab one of those. The reason I like to use foam egg cartons is because it keeps all the paint in one nice neat little puddle, and I don't have to, you know, you can use a foam paper plate if you like, but a lot of times on a foam paper plate your paints run together, and so that's why I love using an egg carton. So get the one of your wider brushes. This one is pretty wide. It's probably a little over an inch. And I'm just going to paint all of the areas outside of this little area in the middle here that we drew. And don't worry if you go over your line just a little bit. It's not a big deal. We drew that on there and it's not perfect. We're just using it as a general guide for where the lemonade's going to go. And you're going to make long strokes. You might make short little strokes if you're trying to get to the edge like this. You might make little feathered strokes so that you don't have paint kind of gunking over the edge, but then after you get done, like I did just there, just smooth it out. And that keeps you from getting paint all over the edge. So light feathery strokes along the edge and then big long smooth strokes down the middle. And you can use your brush to kind of trace and then fill in. If you're getting a really streaky application, it's probably because you don't have enough paint on your brush. And I always put my paint on a little bit on the thick side because I don't like doing second and third coats if I can help it. So I always apply plenty of paint. See how I'm making that feathery off the edge stroke down through here? Stacy, do your ladies do much painting? I know you guys are a DIY community, so I'm sure you guys have picked up a paintbrush once in a while. I love having my house decorated, but I'm not very good at the decorating part of it. I am very good at going to Hobby Lobby and picking out what I like, but when it actually comes to arranging it on a shelf and making it look pretty, that's the part I need help with. I do not have a natural eye for that. All right, that may require a second coat in a couple of places. And I forgot to tell you guys what color I'm using. So this is Key West from Apple Barrel. Forgot you guys are flipped upside down. It's a paint that you can get from Walmart, and see that it's the matte acrylic. I prefer the matte acrylic because it goes on more consistently. The gloss paints I feel like go on real streaky, so I like the matte paints. Some definitely do, but this will be a first for some to do something like this. Oh, okay. Jennifer says, I paint custom signs for a living, but I use vinyl stencils. Awesome. I don't use any vinyl stencils. I just do everything by hand, but I do cheat once in a while. I call it cheating, but it's not really cheating. And use, you know, a printable image like this if I want my lettering to look just so-so. All right, I'm going to rinse out my brush, and I'm going to use the same one. Jan says, I'm just getting started into painting and drawing, and I really love it. It's so relaxing. It is relaxing, Jan. I spent my Mother's Day the other day just sitting here painting, and it was so relaxing. All the kids were occupied. My husband was outside working, and I just sat here in my craft room with no sounds on, just enjoying the painting. Okay, so I rinsed out my brush. I used a paper towel to dab it off. Now you're going to grab a light pink. This one is called Poodle Skirt Pink. It's a Deco Art Americana paint. It's the same type of paint. It's also a matte acrylic. The Deco Art brand you can get at Hobby Lobby or Michael's. Like I said, this one's called Poodle Skirt Pink. If you're shopping at Walmart and you're getting just Apple Barrel, there is a color called Cameo Pink that is fairly similar. So, as you can see, that teal paint is still very wet, so I'm just trying not to touch it. I'm just going alongside it. And think of it like if you're having a hard time getting smooth strokes, or if you're getting that ripple along the edge, because see, I just loaded my paintbrush up, and a lot of first-time painters, the problem they'll say is when they put it down, they'll have like a ridge of paint along the edge. So kind of start off and do a little stroke like that will get some of the excess off, and then kind of, you know, dip back in it and smooth it out so that it keeps from getting that little ridge right along the edge of whatever you're painting. So I always like to start just a little bit away from the edge and then work closer to the edge. But, oh, I think I interrupted myself. The Apple Barrel color is Cameo Pink, if you were writing that down. And sometimes if I'm using a flat tip brush like this, instead of going like this, I'll turn the brush kind of sideways and use it to trace a line. So right there I turned it sideways to trace that bottom line a little better. And then you can go back, and if you've got some brush strokes that look kind of smudgy, you can go back and make longer strokes to cover those up. I'm gonna just start out by tracing this whole area here that I had drawn on here with the pencil, and then we'll go and fill in the middle in a moment. I do too, Stacy. These colors are so pretty. It's very light and summery. Okay, we've got the whole outer edge outlined. So now I'm just going to start doing longer strokes through the middle to get it covered with the pink. I had some kind of globbed up here, so I'm smoothing it out first and then adding some more. If your paint doesn't feel like it's smoothing out very well, try just wetting your brush just a little bit, and that will help thin out the paint, you know, and make it a little bit more workable for you. Okay, now I'm going over the whole thing again, just back and forth, long strokes, anywhere where I see kind of rogue paintbrush strokes that I don't want, and just smoothing those out. It's a little thin right up in here, and right, you know, so once this dries, we will put another coat. But for speed purposes, I'm going to get out my hairdryer and just put it on high heat for just a second, and it will dry this in a jiffy. It's dry enough that we can do another coat now. And it probably doesn't even need another coat all the way around, but it definitely does in a few spots up here. It just looks a little thin. Let me get some more paint. Is anyone at home painting along? I know some of you already ordered the wood. I shipped out several of these cutouts, Stacy, so they may be at work right now. I'm going to be painting it, you know, at night or something when they've got more time. I chose this time of day because this is when my 4-year-old's taking a nap. So I knew I would not be interrupted. She will be napping the whole time, and I can get some time to myself. See, I just got over my line there, but that's okay. We can go back and straighten that up. Just let it dry if you do something like that, and you can go back and cover it up later. Baby wipes are also great to keep on hand when you're painting, because if you make an oops like that, if you've got a baby wipe handy, a lot of times you can just wipe that mistake right off quickly. Mary says she hasn't received hers yet. Okay. I think, Mary, yours is one of the ones that is going to be shipping out tomorrow. I have a guy who laser cuts everything for me, and so he was out of town this weekend at a craft show, and so he's currently cutting mine today. So I should be getting those this evening and shipping them out first thing in the morning for you guys, if you haven't gotten yours yet. Okay, that looks good. Trina says, I have a mason jar, but I've not painting, just watching. Sometimes it's easier to paint, to watch first and paint next. So let me dry this real quick. Yes, Trina, you can order another one. Yes. Okay, before we start doing our strawberries, ice cubes, and lemons at the top, I want to go ahead and do this frame shape down at the bottom. I was looking, I almost didn't make my, whoops, my hairdryer just fell on the floor. I almost made this too big and didn't make my lemonade come out wide enough on each side. And now that I'm realizing that, I'm gonna widen this out just a little bit so that I have plenty of room to fit that frame on there, because I printed this frame fairly large. I wanted it to be big enough that you could write something, have plenty of room to write something on there. So I'm just widening this out just a wee little bit on each side. There we go, that should be better. Now my little oops over here is covered up because I widened it out. All right, let me get my hairdryer that I dropped on the floor. I need a hook over here to hang it on. Hello, Rita. Oh, wonderful. You're painting along with me. Trina, I will warn you, it is very addictive. I've had many people tell me that. Because once you make one, then you're like, ooh, I could make this and I could make that. And next thing you know, your house is overrun with door hangers. Okay, I don't know if you guys know what transfer paper is. I'm sure you probably do. But you can get this stuff at like Hobby Lobby or Michael's. And essentially, it's just got like pencil lead almost, or graphite, I guess you would call it, inside of this like really thin paper. And you can put it underneath an image that you're wanting to transfer and then trace that image, and it will put that image right on the door hanger for you. So I'm just trying to make sure I've got my placement right. Let me move it up just a little. I want to have room for that little mason jar swirl down here at the bottom, and I don't want it to look like it's sitting too low, so I'm just raising it up a little bit. Let's see, right about in there. Okay, so I have my transfer paper underneath, and the shiny side of the transfer paper is facing down. See, that side is shiny, so I'm facing that down. Now all you need is a ballpoint pen. Loretta says, can I have your completed one? Sure. And then you're just going to start by tracing the frame on the outside of the paper. Now, if you do not have transfer paper or graphite paper, I guess that's what this is called, and another trick that you can do is just print this piece of paper off, and then on the back side of this piece of paper, you could take a pencil and cover it with pencil lead everywhere, all over the image, and do the same thing. And it puts graphite on the back side of your paper and turns it into transfer paper. But this transfer paper that I have, that I'm using right now, makes life so easy. It transfers the image almost flawlessly. So I'm just tracing along the outside of this little frame. Oop, I moved it. Let me see if I can shift it right back. That's the thing, you don't want to move it around once you get started tracing. Rita says, I love painting signs and door hangers. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to go ahead. No, wait, no, I'm not. Okay, so we're not going to trace the word yet, just the outline. Okay, so look here. Ta-da! It transferred that little frame to my door hanger perfectly. It looks like it was drawn on in pencil. So now, if you're using chalkboard paint, and you can get chalkboard paint in like at Walmart, Michael's, Hobby Lobby, something like that, I'm probably just going to use standard black paint because I'm just going to paint my word on instead of writing it on with chalkboard, or with chalk. That didn't make any sense. I'm using a smaller flat tip brush this time, and I'm just going to outline. Now if you struggle outlining with a flat tip brush, maybe try using a skinny round tip brush, kind of like this, and trace the outline first, just like you would with a magic marker. And then you can go back and fill it in a moment. So you could trace just like this, and then you could go back and fill it in. That probably is a wee bit faster than using a flat tip brush. Okay. So now I can go back with my flat tip brush and just fill it in. The chalkboard paint may have a little bit of a sheen to it, so if you're using chalkboard paint, it might look a little bit glossy. Not really glossy, but it will have almost like a satin finish. But I'm using matte acrylic black paint instead, since I'm just gonna paint my word on instead of chalk write it on. Trina says, you make it look so easy. Thanks for all your tips. Stacy says, I love using transfer paper. Such a good idea for these. Yes, transfer paper, you know, anytime you're making a sign, it would be great if you're not very good at lettering, or if you want it to look like a certain type of font. Transfer paper is great for that. Trina, I hear that a lot, that I make it look easy. I think that's why so many people have joined my Painters Clubhouse membership, is because I make it look easy, and I make people feel like they can do it too. I think that's kind of one of my superpowers. I don't pretend to do things perfectly. I don't pretend to have some magic ability to be able to paint. So it's just one of those things. I feel like anybody could learn to do this. Anybody that wanted to. It's definitely a skill that you don't have to be born with. You can learn it. Okay. That may require a second coat, so let's dry it real quick. That matte acrylic paint dries so fast. Most things are going to require a second coat. I think that's one thing some people are surprised about, especially if you're using yellow, red, orange. Those colors do not cover very well on their own, so don't be surprised if something takes more than one coat to make it look nice. Do any of you guys have questions about door hangers or painting that I could answer for you while I paint? A lot of the women who've joined my Painters Clubhouse membership have gone on to start their own businesses and are now selling door hangers, teaching paint party classes and workshops. And it's been very, not only therapeutic for them, but a great way to make extra income for their families, because you don't have to be the best painter to start teaching classes. I think that's kind of a misconception that people have. You know, you just need to, you know, have the courage and the confidence to do it, even if it's not going to turn out perfect. So, you know, if you enjoy painting signs and door hangers and you wanted to start teaching paint parties, that's something that you wouldn't have to feel like you're the best person, because I definitely had only been doing this for about 2 months before I started teaching parties of my own. And that's all, you know, from there it just grew and grew. Okay, we're going to let this dry, and we're going to start putting our lemons and strawberries up here in the top. Okay, this yellow is my favorite yellow because it covers so well. It's Decor Americana Primary Yellow. And it is really bright and it covers so good. If you have trouble with your paint covering well, one tip would be, especially if you're using yellow, one tip would be to use white underneath it. So I'm just going to switch to my round tip brush with a little bit of white, because I'm not quite sure how well the yellow will cover this pink, and I want my lemons to be very vibrant. So I'm just going to draw some random little lemons right up here. It's just kind of little half circle shapes. Don't make them too small. You know, if they look a little small, widen it out and make them a little bigger. You know, they don't have to be perfect to be fun. So let me just do a couple of random little shapes first, and then I'll fill them all in. Let me make that one a little bigger. Let's see, we might do one more over here. Okay, now I'm going to switch to my flat tip brush and fill those in. Painting white underneath just ensures that this yellow is going to pop and be so bright and colorful, instead of sometimes if the pink behind it can cause it to be more muted, and I don't want my colors to be muted. I want them to pop off the door hanger. What site do you go on to print the hello? Oh, okay. The hello is not at that link. I actually put it in the comments underneath where I posted that link, if that makes sense. It was just an image, like a JPEG, and you print it out like you're printing on a full-size sheet of paper. Who was that asked that? That was Jan. Okay, I was thinking if it was Linda who was doing, I think it was Linda that said she was painting a smaller mason jar. You'll need to print yours smaller if you're using that little JPEG. Okay, let me dry this real quick. I'm gonna do one more coat of white. If the paint party business is one of those things that you think you might be interested in, I wanted to make you guys aware that on Thursday through Sunday, the 16th, May 16th through the 19th, I have a paint party boot camp course that is launching, and it is a full course that takes you from setting up a Facebook page all the way to doing virtual paint parties, if that's something you're interested in. It also walks you through how to create like an online registration form so that, you know, you can get people to sign up for your parties that are going to be local, and they can use an online link to do that. And so it's just kind of a little trick that's way easier than you would think, but I teach how to do it in the course so that it makes your life so much easier if you're doing paint parties. So if that's something any of you guys would be interested in, or maybe you've got questions about doing, feel free to send me a private message and I can kind of talk to you about what the course is about and, you know, figure out if it's something that would be right for you. Stacy says it won't let me drop a picture here, but check for Tamara's post today. Yes, and I can also put it in the comments like after the video's over. All right, next I'm going to go ahead and use the red while the white is drying, and I'm just going to draw some little strawberries. We're just going to fit them in kind of next to these little lemons. And, you know, strawberries are kind of lumpy sometimes, so feel free to not make them perfect. So there's one there. Let's do one here. I feel like that needs to be a little bigger. Strawberry lemonade. Sounds pretty good right now. I wish I had something like that from Sonic right about now. Love me some Sonic. We'll put one right over here. Strawberries are shaped almost like a heart. but they don't have a point at the bottom. It's kind of just a rounded tip. Let's see, what's 3? Maybe 3's enough, I don't know. We need room for ice cubes, so I don't want to do too many. We'll just stick with 3. Okay. Now, while that red is still wet, I'm going to dip the tip of my round tip brush in just a wee little bit of white paint. And I'm going to kind of bring it down the middle. You know how, like, these are going to be sliced strawberries. So while the red paint is still wet, I'm taking just a little tiny bit of white, and I'm kind of making like a V shape in the middle of the strawberry, because this is a sliced strawberry. And just let those two colors kind of mix together, and just keep going back and forth with your round tip brush. You can even do like a little dabbing motion like this to make it look, let me see if I can get you guys closer. Well, oh, it lets me zoom in. How cool is that? Okay, so can you see that? Let me show you this other one. So I did a V shape right in there, and now with my white, I'm just making like a little feathered motion on the edge so that it looks kind of like the center of the strawberry. Okay, let's do this one. Get just a little bit more red. I almost have too much white. These, you know, don't try to make it look perfect. Just, you know, kind of wiggly in the middle like that. Okay. Now let's go ahead and zoom out just a little bit. I didn't realize you could zoom in on a Facebook Live. That's cool. Okay, now let's paint our lemons yellow. I'm getting that round tip brush out again. If you haven't noticed about me so far, I do like to reuse the same brushes over and over and over. See how that yellow pops right on top of that white? And so I tend to wash out the same brush because it's a favorite, and then just use it again and again. Which is great, because that just goes to show you don't have to have a million brushes in order to paint door hangers. You can just have 4 or 5 favorites, and that's probably all you need. I'm going to try my best not to get my brush in that red, because it's still wet. You don't need a lot of yellow on top of this white, just enough to kind of cover it. But your white probably does need to be as dry as you can make it. Otherwise, you might start getting a pale yellow color instead of a bright pop of yellow. Lemons are so popular right now. Have you guys noticed? I don't see how you couldn't notice it, especially with you guys being in a decorating group. I see them everywhere, and I love it. I've always been a fan of lemons. My mom loves lemon kitchen soap and stuff like that, so I've always kind of been a fan of lemons. I'm kind of glad that they're suddenly taking on a popularity. All right, I'm just going over the edges of some of these a little bit. It's turning out so cute. Tamara, did I miss something? I was trying to figure out what you were talking about. Okay, let's see, what's next? Next, we need to do our ice cubes and finish out some more details on things, and then we're almost done. So I'm getting my round tip brush again, dipping it in some white, and while that's drying, we'll go ahead and do our little ice cubes. Do you remember in elementary school when they taught you how to do draw a prism, not a prism, what am I trying to say? A cube, right? That's pretty much the same thing we're doing right here. We're making a 3-dimensional little cube. And so just draw a little square. Start another little, just start making it look kind of 3-dimensional. And just fit them in wherever you can. This just reminds me of elementary school because I used to draw those little three-dimensional triangles and three-dimensional blocks and things like that. I thought it was so cool. I feel like it needs one more kind of over here somewhere. It may have to overlap the lemon a little bit. Okay. And then you can take just a little bit of white and kind of do like a little wiggly S in the top of the cube so that it looks a little bit more filled in. Hello, Teresa. You were going to say we've been talking about outdoor spaces this month, so this is the perfect DIY to go along. Awesome. I'm so glad it worked out. I don't know why I just rinsed my brush. I need this brush with white on it for the next thing. Okay, so use your round tip brush again. Now we're going to do little teardrop shapes, just 3 each on our lemons. To make little seeds. And I like to point the tips of them toward the middle. So if it helps, you can start with the one in the middle. And these don't have to be perfectly white, so I'm not going to do a second coat on them. And actually my yellow is still kind of wet, so it's kind of smearing together with my white, but I actually like the way that looks. One of the ladies that lives near me who used to teach canvas classes used to say, it's not fine art, it's fun art. That's what I like to remind myself of. We're having fun here. It doesn't have to be perfect. Nobody's going to be walking through a gallery deciding whether or not to spend thousands of dollars on it. Okay. Now, you can take just a little bit of white and kind of do like a little line around the edges of your lemons. If you want just a little bit more detail. We'll also go back and add some black outlines and things like that in just a moment. Okay, and then for the other details on the jar, I need some more white for this. If you get plenty of paint on your brush, you know, if you get it loaded up nice and full, it will make this easier. And so you can just do, kind of try to take a really light hand. Don't try to, like, you know, push down or make it perfect. Just a really light, quick stroke will turn out so much better than something that you're trying really hard to make perfect. Okay, and then down here, start at the bottom of the swirl and swirl up, just like that, real quick. Quicker the better. And on the picture, let's see, I would do like a little dot, and then like an outline. And we're outlining this cute little frame. And it's kind of perforated with little dots. So you can do like 3 little dots, and then a line. If this scares the crap out of you doing this part, you can skip it, or you can get a paint pen. Lots of ladies use paint pens to do these parts. I just prefer a brush for all things. That's just what I'm most confident with in my hand. But there's nothing wrong with using a paint pen for parts like this. Okay? Got some white paint there in the middle. Okay, I think we're done with the white. So now let me switch to black. Same brush, just switch into the black, doing the same thing up here at the top. We want it to look like a lid, or not like a lid, but like it has threads. See how I'm not doing a perfect circle there. I'm kind of starting and stopping. And then I'm going to do a little outline, just like I did around that frame, where I do little dots, and a line, and dots. The quicker you move, the better it'll turn out. Like if you're sitting there trying to make it perfect, it's going to be obvious that you tried too hard to make it perfect. Speed it up a little bit. hey Erica, it's okay. Thank you, Trina. Sometimes I do 3 dots, sometimes I do 2, sometimes I do 1. It just breaks up the line a little bit, adds a little bit of whimsy. Okay, so there's our outline. And then I'm gonna get a thinner round tip brush for this next part. That way I've got some precision. This one's really tiny, see? This is also where a paint pen or even a Sharpie would come in handy. And we're just gonna add just a teeny bit of an outline to these little seeds. And just a little bit to the edges of the lemon. It just makes, like anytime you add black to something, it may feel unnatural to add black to a lemon because, you know, in nature, lemons don't have black on them. But in whimsical art like what we're doing now, adding black to something makes the bright colors pop even more. And doing all of these little details distracts from the imperfectness of it and makes it kind of feel complete, if that makes any sense. Sometimes I feel like I'm just making stuff up, but I'm trying to explain how I think of it. Okay, let me zoom in on those lemons because I want you to see, like, that is not perfect at all. Okay. And then just a teeny little bit to the strawberries. I think on the strawberries, I almost did like we do on the mason jar where you do a little line and some dots. There we go. All right. Adding the black does make a difference, doesn't it? It just makes everything kind of like, wow, you know? Okay, let's do the lettering next, but I need to draw all of this before I put my paper and my transfer paper down on here, so give me just a second. It's really not as hard as you think, Loretta. I probably make it look easy because I have a confident hand. I move quickly and I don't second guess myself. And it helps if you have a plan ahead of time before you get started. So, you know, over at the side over there, I have a picture of the door hanger that I had drawn on my iPad. And so I kind of already knew what I was going to do. And that makes it to where I'm able to move faster and more confident when I'm actually painting. On my shirt. I was having to dab it off before it dried real well. Okay, now here we are. Those of you who are logging on late, you can get this little printable image in the comments underneath the video that I posted of the jigsaw tutorial. And for just to make things easier, I'm going to cut out around this with scissors so that I can get this placed just exactly right on the frame. This, the word hello on here, I actually drew on my iPad. I like my hand lettering better when I draw it on the iPad than when I paint it for some reason. I guess because I can erase it so easily on the iPad. I can just undo the action and then redraw it. And so I thought it would be fun to use my hand lettering as a template. So this is not a font or anything you can print off online. This is my actual hand lettering. And so I'm just going to line it right up there. And we just printed it off for... Where did my transfer paper go? I bet when I used my hairdryer, it blew it off in the floor. Let me grab it. Sure did. Okay. So that I can keep this all lined up nice and neat. I'm gonna try to slip that under there. You just kind of have to put it under there and then check, lift up, make sure you're lined up with everything. A little crooked right there. That's better. Okay, so now I can take my ballpoint pen and I'm going to trace the inside and outside of every letter. Thank you, Erica. Looks like Magnolia Sky font. I do love Magnolia Sky. It reminds me of that. It doesn't have quite as many like little curls as like my hand lettering doesn't as Magnolia Sky, but I do really like that one. This is a technique I used a lot at paint parties. Back before I was very confident with hand lettering, I would have each of my guests use this type of technique to apply the lettering to their door hanger to paint. Makes things so easy. Okay, so we've got it all traced. We can lift it up now. Okay, can you see where I traced it? Okay, so this is going to be really hard for you guys to see, but it's actually pretty easy for me to see. Let me see if I can zoom in for you guys. I don't know if it'll be... Can you see the indentions at all of the lettering? Yeah, you can kind of see it, can't you? So it's much easier for me to see because, but it's still a little difficult. And it's only because we've done this on black. So now we get to do the lettering. I like to do this with a round tip brush, so I'm going to go back to the round tip brush that I was using a minute ago and get my white paint and just start filling in inside the lines. Like I said, this part is totally optional. If you want to just use chalkboard paint and paint with chalk, you can do that. I don't like writing with chalk, so I'm painting mine on permanently with a paintbrush. I think there is a type, isn't there, Stacy, do you know, is there a type of transfer paper that is kind of like chalk? Because that would be even better doing it on a black surface like this. For some reason I was thinking there's a type of transfer paper that works kind of like chalk for dark surfaces. I've never purchased it, and I'm sure they probably have it, but I've never actually looked. Okay, Erica says you can see it up close. Good. It is a little bit difficult to see in person. I mean, I kind of have to hold my head right in just the right light to be able to see my indentions. But it's gonna work. Maybe so. Yeah, I feel like somebody told me that they make something like that, so that would have been great for this dark surface. I need to look into that. I love that doing it this way, it takes the guesswork out of, you know, well, how big should I make my H, and how big should I make my L's, and what if I run out of room? You know, it just makes it to where you know it's going to fit, you know it's going to look nice. Super easy. I'm actually teaching this same exact design tonight at 7 p.m. inside my Painters Clubhouse group. So my Painters Clubhouse ladies will love using that printable template, because there's a lot of them that aren't very confident in their hand lettering either. this will require like 2 coats on the white to make it really look good. Okay, my brush strokes are kind of crazy, so we're going to dry this and do another coat. Oops, I just dripped white paint right in the middle of the black, so I may have to do some touch-up work here in a minute. Kind of therapeutic. So quiet. I'm mesmerized. Just don't have to think about it much. Just do. It's very relaxing. This is another thing that you could easily do if you're not very confident with a paintbrush in your hand, with a white paint marker. You could easily use the white paint marker to fill in the lines here if you struggle, you know, with the round tip brush. Oh, thank you, Stacy and Rhoda. Let's see, Heather says, I love this. I have a mason jar that I painted, and now I have something I can paint over it. You don't have to paint over it. You could always flip it over and paint the back. That way it would be double-sided. That's the good thing about a mason jar shape. It's the same whether you flip it one way or the other, so you could do it, paint both sides. Have 2 different designs. One could be for summer and one could be for fall or spring and summer. Mason jars are one of my favorite door hangers to paint because they're so versatile. If you just search on Pinterest for mason jar door hanger, oh my goodness, you could paint probably 500 mason jar door hangers and none of them look the same. There are so many ways to paint a mason jar door hanger. So if you can figure out how to cut this shape using a jigsaw, you could just stay busy for days. That could just be all you paint. Okay, guys. I think it looks pretty good. Let me back it up here. Oh, I forgot you guys are upside down too. There we go. Bring you back down to normal. Loretta says, I just love this project. It would look great in your camper. Oh yeah, that would be great. A lot of people paint camper door hangers to hang outside their campers. So we actually have some more room right in here. You could always add just a few extra ice cubes or anything like that that you want. And if you make a bow, you could attach the bow just right up in here. A cute, simple burlap bow would be really nice. So I can't wait. Stacy, please share their pictures with me if you will. I would love to see how they turn out after they make some. Let's see. Connie says, I've seen a buffalo checked one with, oh, that would be really cute too, Connie. Thank you, Stacy. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see what you guys make. So y'all send me your pictures and come visit me at Southern Adornments Decor. And if you're interested in learning how to paint more door hangers and you want to join my Painters Clubhouse membership, go to paintersclubhouse.com. Open enrollment is currently closed right now, but I might make an exception for some of Stacy's friends. If you guys want to send me a private message, I will let you guys in the group. It is $37 a month, and it is so much fun. We learn how to paint 2 new door hangers every month, and we work on our hand lettering and things like that all the time. Okay, Melissa says, how do you hang it? You can either drill 2 holes in the top and put wire through it, but I don't like to use that method. I like to use jute string, and I just tie a knot in each end and then staple that jute string just right to the back here using 1/4-inch staples. Now I think you might think that 1/4-inch staples would go through this, but this MDF is so tough that the 1/4-inch staples do not go through it. So I also have a video on my Instagram IGTV stories. Is that what it's called? IGTV, that shows how to make an easy bow and how to make the hanger. And I will link that down in the comments as soon as the video is over for you guys. It walks you through it step by step, and it's so easy. So thank you guys for joining me today. And if you have any questions, feel free to send me a message about it. And thank you so much, Stacy, for letting me come hang out with your girls today. I hope y'all have a fantastic Monday. Bye.